Ken Lewenza, President of the CAW Canada.
What are the issues for your members in 2011, coming out of a federal election, going into a number of provincial elections?
Well, the issues are the same. I mean, quite frankly, we're having a real challenge in collective bargaining, maintaining pension plans, improving pension plans, job security, obviously for our members is incredibly important, and just the overall mood of, the lowest bidders are successful in terms of getting jobs. And that's the real challenge for the labor movement. I mean, everything's out to bid today. I don't care whether you've been around for 40 years or whether you've been around 5 years. Employers think that they can get your labor for cheaper, so we've got to continue to fight on those issues. And
you got to get the public on side with your members as well. What are you doing to convince to take the union message to the members of the public?
Well, first of all, you got to win confidence within your own members, and we have spent a considerable amount of time saying that, if they beat us down on the question of pensions, then they beat down others in the question of pension. And then obviously if they beat down the labor movement when it comes to secure pensions and universal pension plans, then quite frankly it's off the table because nobody else is speaking on behalf of pensions. So the first thing you have to do is you have to convince your members and reorganize your members that the victories that we've had are temporary if you're not prepared to defend them, if you're not out there talking about the importance of the union. And I think that's where we fell short. Maybe we have taken our union for granted. Maybe we took the difference between unionized and non-union wages for granted. And now we got to reorganize our members in the interest of all Canadians.
What are your thoughts coming out of the federal election last Monday?
Well, very disappointing. Our CAW had an objective of anything but a conservative majority government, and obviously we were shocked. But when you take a look at Canada as a whole, outside of the Toronto region where Stephen Harper really concentrated his campaign, I mean, he strategically put a campaign together where he thought he could win, and he was successful, mostly in the Toronto area in terms of getting his majority. I believe, again, that's a weak majority. I believe at the end of the day, his message of a stable majority government resonated, but I think in the next 4 years, starting at the conclusion of this convention, we'll expose Harper for what he is, and the mood will change over the course of the next 4 years.
Are you going to focus your political efforts in Ontario? There's a provincial election coming up this fall, of course.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the facts of the matter is provincially in terms of the labor movement is just as important as the federal government, because that's where you deal with labor laws, that's where you deal with good public services, that's where you kind of deal with this the need for education, healthcare. Most of the programs come out of the provincial government, so we've got to get out there and we got to say to our people and say to our members and say to Ontarians and other people in other provinces, quite frankly, do you support education? Do you support healthcare? Do you support public services? Because they normally are generated by the provincial governments. And I think it'll be pretty convincing that you need good public services to support good communities.
Any final messages that you would have for Canadians, for people who visit our website, your members?
No, the message would be to all Canadians is the labor movement today is as relevant today as it was 40 years ago. The right wing wants to talk about the relevancy, but today 30% of Canadians, under 30%, are organized labor. I would ask Canadians, what would Canada look like without that 30%? And if we were able to increase union density to 35, 40%, how much more strength would we have in numbers in terms of bargaining and winning social justice? So to those folks that are out there that are contemplating whether they should join a union or not, just look at the differences where we'd be without a union.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your work.